I'm meant to strap in the system.
Hi, it's Chris from Poseidon here. Going to do a review on the newly released Ozone Enduro V5 kite. This is pitched by Ozone as their highly versatile, go everywhere, do everything model. It's a 3-strut design, which has come through a lot of generations now and a lot of changes in those generations. The new V5, quite different from the previous models and something which is a real refined joy to use. It's a really nice kite, something quite different though. It's still the 3-strut design which they've got here. It's a standard construction in the way they've built it. It's not their Ultra X design, but they're using their transverse sail shaping, which they've used on the V4 and then into the V5, which ultimately means there's no straight panels on the leading edge. They cut it in a curve and then they trace the panels on the belly of the kite with it to keep a tighter canopy through, which increases the airflow and makes the kite a lot more stable. Makes a really big difference. They've fattened out the profile a little bit, or the section of the kite, to give it a little bit lower end. And then what they've done is they've taken some of their tech, which they've developed through the creation of the Vortex, and put them into this kite. So whilst this isn't an Ultra X design, which is kind of their higher price tag premium offerings, it's got the same sort of tech which those kites have got. So with this transverse sail shaping, and with a bridle system which has got 16 points attached on it, which they did with their Vortex for the first time, they're spreading the load and making the kite a lot more stable in the sky, which translates down to a more predictable and stable feel in how it works. They've still got their adjustment on the leading edge, which is a really nice feature they've had for a while now in the Enduro. It means you can change it from a freestyle to a standard or a wave setting by moving this bridle point. It switches on round and changes the toe point closer to the wingtip or closer to the center. At the tighter knot, it spins more. It's really noticeable how it doesn't create so much power through the turn and it sits deeper. Or the opposite, if you pull it out to the end, it's more freestyle. It pivots more around the wingtip. The other thing they've got here on the wingtip and on the trailing edge is they're using a mix of soft battens and now hard battens on the trailing edge to stop any sort of flutter on the back there. And you really notice it with this kite. And I think it was the first kind of standout with the V4 you notice is how taut it feels in the sky. And even more so in this V5 is that its framework and its feeling in the sky is so rigid and stable. I think more than any of their other kites, you feel like this isn't going to do anything unpredictable when you're flying it. The big difference which they've done this year is two key things. Is they've opened out the arc of the kite to make it slightly more open. And then they've swept the leading edge. So looking from the side here, they've swept the leading edge inwards to give it more curvature on the front, more of a delta sort of a shape, and then slimming down the wingtip through that curve. What this relates to and what this creates is a kite that is a little bit more powerful than previous generations. It's got more low end and it's easier to get up and going. It's easier to turn it and hold its power through the turn, because with a squarer leading edge and a wider wingtip and a toe point that's closer to that wingtip, the previous versions, it would create a pivotal turn around the wingtip, which is more suited to an advanced rider. What they've done here is by sweeping it and moving that toe point more towards the center, creating more of like a hybrid delta sort of a design. It makes it more user-friendly. It slides through its turn a little bit more. And even on its freestyle setting, you feel like this is an easier kite to use. And as we look at the generations it's come through, a lot of changes in the Enduro. At the beginning, it was a very versatile, easy kite in its first generation. And as that progressed on, particularly into the V3, it was a very square, or it is a very square kite with quite a slim profile. And it very much shoots forwards in the window and it's very much locked in how it moves and then suddenly turning. Now, this lends itself very well to being a freestyle kite. What they've done here is it feels like they've taken it back to the original design brief and they've made it more user-friendly. So they've detuned the kite. It's now no longer a freestyle focus kite, but what they've done is they've created a kite which is so versatile and very easy to use for anybody in sort of any riding style. So it's so predictable and so easy to fly. I think you could maybe pick this up as your first kite. It's not going to be the easiest first kite. Something like the Catalyst has a better bottom end, but now with this open arc and with this sort of more slidey sort of a turn, it works really well. For powered up riding, twin tip riding, it handles it very well. And I guess through its technology, through its shape that they've refined and this new bridle system, when you are more powered, it doesn't flinch at any point. It's very, very comfortable. You notice that it's got a little bit more hang time. And whilst I haven't had the chance to take it out fully maxed out and really test out its top end, you notice that it's got more hang time in it. It's more predictable if you're going through transitions in its power bands, in that as you come out of the turn, particularly in aerial transition, it holds its power a little bit more. And you notice generally when you're riding it, it sits a bit deeper in the window, which means that it's got this better bottom end. It's easier to create power. And if you do make a mistake when you're redirecting or when you're turning, it holds its power a little bit longer and it's easier to find, which makes it more user friendly. All of these characteristics do mean it, although it's more suited for free riding, it's a better kite for cruising around. It's a better kite for your first airs. That reduced airspeed and that characteristic where it now spins more around the center is not quite so good for freestyle. So you could no longer call this a freestyle kite. And although you can still freestyle it, and it does behave very well unhooked and it's very predictable, it doesn't stall, it's harder to pop and get slack, and it's harder to carry speed out of a freestyle move. It's clearly not what this is designed for any longer. And whilst you can do it, it's more designed for somebody that wants a kite that wants to twin tip, wave ride, foil, learn advanced riding, boost on it, and they want to have a kite that can do everything, but they don't want a kite that's going to make anything difficult. So it trades extremes in areas to become a bit of a jack of all trades. So a master of none, and it's not necessarily a kite that you're going to jump on and fizz with excitement, but that's not to criticize it in the slightest, because this is a kite that I think anybody could pick up, and a desert island kite where if you were to choose one to go traveling with, especially with its bottom end so good, you could feel really confident in downsizing and taking a kite that can lend itself to all genres. Haven't had a chance to properly test it out with its kite loop to comment on that. Look forward to a good storm pushing through to be able to take it through the mix there. Maybe put together another review once I've spent a bit more time on it. But I'd definitely say check this out. It's a much more refined but down-tuned version of the Enduro now, which is quite different to the previous versions. So if you tried one of those and you were put off by how freestyly it felt, check this out. It's something now in the range which I think we're going to see a lot of in the skies, because any sort of level you're going to jump on this and pretty much everybody's going to love it. That's the Enduro V5. I'm Chris from Poseidon. If you want any more info, give us a shout. If you want your own, pick up the phone or check us out on poseidon-watersports.com.
Government is trapping the system.